I'm saying hello today on October the 10th, 2009, from Brantford, Ontario, from the Mohawk Chapel, Ontario's oldest chapel, and right here we actually have the tomb of Joseph Brant, the Mohawk leader that came up from the United States, the Mohawk River Valley, into Ontario as a British Empire loyalist. And he and his son are buried here. And Audrey, the church's curator, is going to tell me a little bit about this very interesting area here to the side and to the rear of the Mohawk Chapel. Please tell me about this tomb here.
Joseph Brant died at Wellington Square in Burlington, where he had his estate, and he died in 1807. But the natives brought him back here in 1830 and putting him into this tomb with his son John. And John was born here and he died here. And John was one of the main people to get the Mohawk Institute started.
What is the Mohawk Institute?
It was mainly a school for children of families who couldn't really afford to keep their children. And so they brought them here.
Okay. Now, you mentioned this stone over here has important significance as well.
This is a memorial to Emily Pauline Johnson, who was a native poetess. She lived along the Grand River on one side of the reserve, the opposite side of the river. And her father was George Johnson, and her mother, I think, was English. And she became a great poetess, and she used to go all across the country, actually, and she spent a lot of time in Europe.
Yes.
And she ended up passing away in Vancouver.
Oh, wow.
And
when did she live, roughly? What era?
I think it was the late 1800s, 1900s.
So some time ago.
She passed away in the early 1900s.
Okay. And we have other gravestones here of members of the Anglican congregation here. Some of them date back a long, long time. You can't even really read anything anymore. And there is an entire collection of gravestones here that look like they're, what would that be? Marble or, no, this would be limestone. No, it's not limestone. Quartz? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they are, but they're white gravestones.
They're just the two gray ones.
Two gray ones up here, and all the other gravestones dating back, let me see, what years do we have here? 1867? Born 1867.
1743.
Yeah.
There's 45.
Yeah, 1845, 1870. This is 1843, so it's getting older. 1849 to 1875. Also 1879. Here's a person that lived 96 years, which was highly unusual for that era.
Right.
That's for sure. And all of these are mostly 1860s to 1870s. And you were saying there's a lady buried over there somewhere, right? Is it this grave?
The big one.
The big one. And you said she had 6 children.
I think 4 of them had passed away within a year and a half of each other. And the oldest was 6 years old.
Okay.
And she passed away like at the age of 37, 38. Years of age.
And you were saying there was also an archaeologist here that looked at the history of the cemetery?
Yes.
What did they find?
He was just looking in this area actually here to find if there was any graves here, because they're looking at placing their equipment here when they do restoration inside.
Okay.
But there was really nothing.
Very interesting. Now maybe if we just walk up here for a second, because you were explaining to me this was a way for the natives to get up from the river at the time?
Yes.
Because there are some very beautiful grounds actually surrounding the Mohawk Chapel. Let me give you a little look back at the rear of the chapel. It's a very simple wooden structure.
This used to be the front, actually.
Oh, this used to be the front. Oh, that's interesting. So now it's switched around 180 degrees. And it was built originally in 1785, and it is the oldest church in Ontario.
Yes.
Okay. And I was just inside. Unfortunately, we can't take video inside, but it's a beautiful church. Very, very simple, actually, because it's got these pine-clad walls, a gorgeous sort of almost Gothic-shaped altar with some black tablets with golden writing on it. And what is the information on the golden tablets?
They are the Apostles' Creed, the Ten Commandments, and the Lord's Prayer.
Okay, but written in a phonetic transcription of the Mohawk language?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have a memorial here. Let me read it. This observation site, constructed on the flood control dike, overlooks the original canoe landing area for the Mohawk village, which was located here at the Oxbow in the river Ouse,
I think it is.
Ouse, the Grand River. At that time, the river flowed past this area. The channel cut, making the land opposite. An island occurred later. From its construction in 1785 until 1829, the entrance to St. Paul's Chapel of the Mohawks faced east, as you were mentioning, east to the landing site, the main point of entry to the village. Erected by the Rotary Club of Brantford on the 200th anniversary of the first landing, 1784 to 1984. So the Grand River actually used to flow past here.
Yes. See where there's a space in the trees and the grass there? Well,
yes. Comes all the way around here.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, and you can see the flood control dike right here, this elevated portion, and there's a trail now that people can use. Grounds are beautiful on
We've
a beautiful.
had weddings here.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We actually had a funeral here this summer.
Oh yeah? Okay. So there's still activity going on in the church. And you were also mentioning, Audrey, the church is in need of repairs at the moment.
Yes.
And there is going to be a benefit, a charity event being held for the church.
On November 19th.
Uh-huh.
At the Hungarian Club here in Brantford.
Great. So if anybody's interested in attending that, they can find information on the website?
Or they can call here.
Okay. The website is what?
Mohawkchapel.ca.
Mohawkchapel.ca. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.